What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving a state of the market and then getting into some stock picks that I am watching tomorrow. So if that sounds interesting to you, remember to subscribe and hit the like button before we get started. Now, the day in itself has been quite exciting. We came in, you could probably say, a little flat today, but then we just completely sold off. There was absolutely no bounce today, but we came ripping down only to hold on the monthly 50. A lot of stuff is starting to hit monthly supports. This is the EMA 50 monthly support for SPX, and it bounced pretty clean right off of that. But the question is, we are right back up to the 200 daily average. As you can see, the 50 weekly average, we kind of rejected pretty hard off that, but we kind of blew right through it towards the end of the day. And even looking at the daily, we haven't even retested this wedge again. That's going to be the ultimate thing. I think for us to really break out of this wedge on the daily, it's going to take Powell. And I think people already kind of know what Powell's going to do. Technical wise, we essentially had a nice bounce off the 50, again, coming straight down. Typically what always happens, something I explain all the time, is you'll get that break of the 20. You'll typically come down to the 50. You'll test that, come back up to the 20, and then you'll start selling off more if you're going to sell off, or you'll typically break and continue up. For the most part, especially for the index, it normally bounces off the 50 pretty strongly, and then it continues up. So we could be in a good situation, but we still really need confirmation. We are not out of the woods yet. Again, we've had today put us in to that 10% correction. So we are officially in a correction. We actually hit 12% at the very low from the peak, which is very good in my mind. It gave us enough of a move that going forward, if Powell decides to raise rates, we'll take some more volatility at that point. But I think aside from that, we have officially corrected. I think that is enough for us to continue forward. I think that we are pretty solid. I expect Powell to come in and actually be very dovish. I don't expect them to be hawkish at all. I expect that Powell to come in and say that we aren't raising rates. He's going to be very general. He isn't really going to throw a time frame out there or throw any kind of numbers out there as far as rates. I think they're just going to discuss it, and I think that's what he'll relay as we're just discussing. It's preliminary talks. There is no plan to do so. I think from that point on Wednesday, that should push us up over this trend line. If that does happen, I see us breaking. I've been talking about this at the end of the week. We break this wedge and possibly retest. If we can get a break Wednesday night, Thursday, and possibly come back for a retest Friday, and then continue on into the rest of earnings, because we do start with Microsoft. And the good thing is we did have Intel earnings today after close today. They did very well, so that was a good sign, and that's what was concerning kind of coming into this week. Is Microsoft, is Tesla, is Apple, the big tech, are they going to do well? If they do well, we can really rip back up, and I think we would be stronger than ever, especially if Powell aligns with that and coming in dovish as far as rate raises. I think that can really push us forward into essentially back to all-time highs and start getting in that price discovery where we really want to be at, as opposed to making all-time highs and then just completely selling off. So again, I think this really matters. You're really going to have to watch this wedge on the daily. Tomorrow we might push and then might come in flat, or initially you're going to see a pretty hard rejection off this tomorrow. So we might actually gap up, to be honest. A lot of stuff is looking pretty good. We might actually gap up tomorrow. So I'm possibly even looking at that 45.64 mark tomorrow. I think if you're looking for puts, that would be perfect. That would be first real retest of that 20. So you're going to get a very hard rejection off this tomorrow, which would be good for a scalp. And then from that point, are we going to try to break that? Or are we going to kind of hover around here for another day or two coming into Wednesday, which if this plays the way I think it's going to play, we might actually get a push up, wick back down, and then kind of just trade sideways into Wednesday. Although we could possibly trickle off here, hold around that 200 EMA on the daily, and then if we get news by 2 o'clock, possibly rip out of this and start running. If it all aligns, if he does come out with rate raises, again, it depends. If he announces time frame, if he announces numbers, I think we're going to be hurting pretty bad. But again, I don't think he was still very dovish when it came to explaining or pushing any sort of time frame or anything, because there's still so much uncertainty on things. Although the pandemic and everything is essentially kind of over at this point, I think right now he knows he needs to start doing something, and they're starting to taper some. And so we'll see what happens moving forward. But Wednesday, I think, will still be a big day, and it still really matters what happens with Microsoft. I think Microsoft will really help going into Wednesday if they crush it, and then we get dovish Powell. That's really going to, I think, ignite the spark for us to start going back to all-time highs. And then we got Tesla Wednesday night right after the Fed, which I think could really launch us at that point. Again, Bitcoin hit around that 32K mark. I said we're still good if we can hit this, stay above that, essentially that 32K mark. It did do just that. Now, this is a really big bounce because we just hit a really big support. Now, is just a dead cat bounce because we really haven't bounced all the way down? Are we going to continue up? And seeing today, even midday, I started seeing a difference in a lot of the price action. A lot of the price action was looking very good. I took ASML because didn't look like it was going to sell. It tried to sell, and the buyers kept stepping in. There just wasn't enough strength back down to the downside. So being said, as you can see, it looks like Tesla is going to even try to gap up tonight. Tesla hit the 200 on the daily, popped right out of there. Looks like it's ready to go. Looks like it's in earnings mode pretty much. I wouldn't be surprised if this actually starts running on its own. Again, premiums are really high on this. So if you're scalping this, just be aware premiums are super high coming into earnings. Normally the highest all around. Apple, nice big move. A bunch of little bull flags, but we do just want to make sure that these hold. Again, I think we're going to get a retest of the 50. This Apple hasn't even officially tried to bounce away from the 50 and retest it. So we definitely don't want this to retest that 167 mark and they get a hard rejection off that, because that first retest is going to be a hard rejection. Then you'll pull back a little bit and then you'll attempt to try to break it again. If it doesn't, then we could be in trouble. But we have to see again. I think it's all based off of what Powell says. Google, a big one I'm watching tomorrow. And one of the best ones, I think, going into earnings. It looks like earnings is announced in February. So next week we do have a Google. If the market starts really ripping, I'm looking for this 2632 break. If we do get a break and retest of that, I want to watch Google on the way back going into earnings. I think it always normally crushes earnings very well. So I want to jump into this. It's one of the ones that I think it can recover really fast. So being said, watch that again tomorrow and Wednesday. Watch the break at 2635. From that point, look for the retracement back to retest that 200. And I think that's your entry point. We are at a lot of entry points for a lot of good stocks. If it holds, ASML, I did catch us on the bottom. I wrote this up. I did jump out a little bit sooner than I probably would have liked, because the power hour did push up pretty hard. Again, you're coming in your resistance here at the 700 mark. Again, first retest, so we'll get rejected pretty hard. I'm kind of expecting that rejection tomorrow because it kind of aligns with what's going on with Powell. But if everything plays out well Wednesday with Microsoft, with Tesla, and with the Fed, I could see a gap over the 709, and then at that point is when you're going to want to get in, because I think I think it'll be full reversal upon that point. So that's a key level to watch. LRCX, same thing. It's actually broken above for the 610 mark, which is support here. Looking for a retracement tomorrow. If it holds the 610 mark, I definitely want to get in this. going forward. Again, because I think the way everything I think is going to align, we are going to really start going for all-time highs. We're going to start the reversal by the end of the week, and so as long as everything aligns, this big tech does well. Powell is dovish. I think we'll start reversing. This is one of the ones I want to be in if that does happen. Amazon, it's really already taken a beating. Looks like earnings is on next week as well. Not one of my favorites, although it can really move. I think it's going to do very poorly for earnings. But being said, people know Amazon, so you play what moves. When it comes to earnings and stuff, in my mind, if it's not a long-term hold, I typically just try to get out of it, try to capture the move, go where the money flows. And so Amazon looks like it's starting to get some gas. Shop had a big move today as well. Again, another one that bounced right off the daily, 50 on the monthly at the 1218 mark. The 20 mark is sitting at the 167 mark, or the 1177 mark. So, and it hasn't retested yet. So I'm looking for a retest, a hard rejection, possibly a lower high, and then continue forward. If Shop does start going, it's definitely one to jump in because it can really keep momentum for quite a while and push the market up for a bit. So Roblox, another big one I really do like. It does have earnings coming up in a couple of weeks. It looks like 2 more weeks. But Roblox could be a huge one. They killed earnings, and then they had Investor Day, and they just skyrocketed up to 141. So kind of watching this one as well. I think after some of the bigger tech earnings, the stock starts to die. Because right now we've been in a really downward rotation. I think if everything aligns, plus good earnings and everything, I think we could rocket February. Bulls will come out strong in February. And then, again, looking every meeting, I think we're going to be kind of hesitant because, again, I think people are waiting for the official rate raised at that point. Again, we still got to let go past Wednesday, see what happens. But if he doesn't do anything, again, if he's very dovish on everything, every meeting is going to provide a lot of volatility, but we have an official correction. So it's not going to be as much, in my opinion. So Airbnb, another really good one. I can't actually believe I missed this one. This one hit 138 today for a brief moment. There were a lot of stocks that hit very lows for a brief moment and then bounced right back. Airbnb is one of them. They're actually back all the way up to 147 already. Microsoft, again, hit monthly support. I believe that's actually monthly support I have on there. I hit monthly support right there perfectly and bounced. Again, it needs to hold the 297 mark. If it can hold the 297 mark, I think you can definitely do a lot of damage. We just have to see how everything plays out. It needs to stick. I think this could be the start of the reversal again, but it could be a dead cat bounce. We've also just completely sold off a ridiculous amount. UPST is one of my favorite. It's down below 100. Definitely want to keep this on watch. If it does start to push up, I think earnings might have to push us back above 100 and keep it going. The whole stock market in general. Coin is a big one to watch. It is under 200 at the current moment. I think if everything goes well with everything, Bitcoin will start flying as well. Get break above there and start going back to, I think all the stuff will go back to all-time highs. I don't really see this being getting into any kind of recession. Yes, you can be in a recession, but the stock market can actually do really well. Something you need to keep in mind. But going forward, everything else can kind of wait. NVIDIA is also a big one to watch. I want to see if it holds this key level of 230 tomorrow. If it does and starts consolidating around here, I think that's a really good sign for NVIDIA. All the chips actually look really good. ASML. They all look really good. I think my favorite one is NVIDIA. So if it does hold this tomorrow, I want to get in this and actually get a longer position in this, whether that is through shares or with call options. because I think this one will always do good. Chips will always be needed, especially in the era of innovation that we live in right now. TSM, possible nice reversal. Look for a retest of the 125 for entry on this. Again, tomorrow should be a good day for entry for a retest, but you want it to hold. Now, if it can hold going into Powell, that's going to be the problem, because if Powell announces something, the whole market could get very volatile and start selling again. And that's what we're kind of concerned about. We want to see what Powell says first. I think if you're investing, today would have been a perfect day to grab some stuff, even tomorrow, while stuff is still bargain prices. I think even if Powell does raise anything, I think whatever correction now we get, or whatever volatility we get, will be minute. Since we've had the big correction already, I think a lot of people are kind of anticipating big, bad earnings for big tech. So I think that's what we're kind of looking at. And then with Intel coming out and doing good, again, we still got Microsoft, we still got Apple, still got Tesla this week to see what's going to happen. But I think we're good. I think we may be in the clear, but we need confirmation. We need Powell to come through. We need Powell to be dovish for this to work out. We do need earnings to be good. If not, so I think we got another week of selling. If that doesn't happen, the market will throw a fit if there's a rate raise, and if big earnings essentially come out really bad, we could still sell off a bit more, although I think we're pretty much at the point where we're going to start reversing. So being said, if you've made it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.